Alrighty, now it's time to talk about Formula One. Formula Un, as we would say here on the Dega Boys channel, or I guess anybody would say. But the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend, we saw no surprise here. Max Verstappen take pole. I went with Sergio Perez to win this weekend. I really did. I know it was a pretty much a shot in the dark. It was kind of a bold hot take there. But I just felt like he won this race last year. He's good at the street courses. He's good at the beginning of the season, especially last year. He proved that. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. Max Verstappen is the man. He goes on to win this race in pretty convincing fashion. But what I want to talk about here at Formula One.
Hey everybody, this is Thomas from the Dega Boys channel reminding you to hit the like button if you're enjoying what you're watching. If you want to see more great content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon as well to be notified of any future videos coming out. Thanks for watching. Now back to the video.
What I want to talk about here in Formula One. The initial start of this race, right? Lando Norris on video footage. We got an onboard from George Russell's car. We had another picture from above on the starting grid. Lando Norris jumps the start, moves early before the lights go out, crosses the starting box line. Then it takes about 20 laps for Formula One to even note it to begin with. Then they investigate it, and they come up with the conclusion that, oh, his transponder didn't register that he jumped the start. Okay, but we have video footage of him jumping the start. This is like we say with Chase Elliott all the time. This guy can do no freaking wrong in Formula One. Not one thing wrong. Absolute shenanigans. And what makes it even worse, he gets no penalty, no punishment. But Sergio Perez, after that first safety car on lap 8, which I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Yes, we have a safety car on lap 8, or no, it wasn't even lap 8, it was lap 6. With Lance Stroll. We go down on the safety car. Everybody goes down to make a pit stop. And we see Sergio Perez make his pit stop and leave his pit box. They released him. Fernando Alonso is coming up pretty close behind him. He pulls out just enough room to slide in there, slot in just fine. Fernando had to do a little bit of a checkup, but it didn't affect Fernando at all on pit road. Didn't hurt really anybody in this situation. They note that quicker than anything. That thing's noted right away. We get that noted before we even get the Lando Norris note. Then they end up penalizing Perez 5-second time penalty, which at the end of the day, it didn't affect him. But still, the consistency is what gets me here. He had enough room to pull out of this box. And if you're going to penalize him for that, you definitely have got to penalize Lando Norris for jumping this restart. I mean, this is absolute favoritism at its finest. What are we doing? What is Zach Brown? What is so cool about Zach Brown? I am so over this McLaren, Zach Brown, Lando Norris, freaking drama train that we get every damn race all season long. Everybody's a Lando fan. Lando can't do any wrong. It takes me back to when I went to Vegas for the Formula One Grand Prix there. Lando Norris crashes early in that race. Everybody in the crowd loses their mind. They're freaking panicking. Oh, Lando. Oh, our poor boy Lando. And I'm over here cheering, getting dirty looks from everybody. I love it. I don't care. I go against the grain of everybody, honestly. I can't stand the notion and the narrative, especially someone like Lando Norris, who can't. He's not even competitive. And even if he does have a chance, he's not even that competitive. It's just, I'm tired of the whole favoritism crybaby routine in all these motorsports. It's just over and over again. Got to play favorites, and I'm just over it. Let's have some damn consistency in Formula One. And it's from the top to bottom. It really is. We got all of this stuff going on with Christian Horner, which I could get into that again. I'm not going to. I'll save you guys that drama show in itself. But unbelievable. I'm just over it. I'm over it. We need some consistency in Formula One. All right, for the rest of the race here, some other things I want to talk about is Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen, man, this guy, He's getting so much flack right now, and I don't understand why. I mean, yes, I agree. He needed the penalty he got for running Alex Albon into the wall. I agree with that 100%. That was pretty much uncalled for. He had plenty of room to the left. Albon was there. There was no reason for him to go and squeeze him up into the wall. I agree with that penalty 100%. But with that penalty happening, it put Haas in an interesting scenario here. Magnussen allows Hülkenberg to go by. I think Zhou went by at that time as well. Those were two of the guys that did not pit during that initial safety car with Lance Stroll, which, you know what? Yeah, I'll get to Lance Stroll at the end here. So that penalty happens. Hülkenberg goes by. Zhou goes by. Puts Haas in an interesting perspective here, because now Haas is in a position where they could potentially get a point with Hülkenberg. Wow, big moment here for Haas to score a point in Formula One. Unbelievable. So, what does Magnussen do? He puts on an absolute train blocking show here at Jeddah. Unbelievable. He had Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Ocon, both Williams with Albon and Sargent, all, and well, Bottas as well, but Bottas he was a little far behind. We're not going to count that. But he had them all parked in a bus, basically, and he was just killing their lap time. I think Tsunoda challenged him at one time trying to get by, and Hülkenberg fought him with everything he could to stay ahead of him, eventually did. Cost Tsunoda another spot to Ocon, and just backed the pace up so far that by the end of the race, when Hülkenberg did have to make his pit stop, he was able to get points, finish P10 in the race to get that final point there in the race. And then RB, Kia, Visa, Cash App, Toro, Alpha, Tori, Rosso, racing team, as we like to say here on the Dega Bush channel. They're all mad. They want it looked into. They want it investigated. Then they rescind it because Haas ends up saying with a statement, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't have did that. That was probably very cool that we did that." But I mean, that's just modern day Formula One. If you're gonna not penalize somebody for jumping a start, well, how could you penalize somebody for racing? You know, because at the end of the day, it was racing. He was racing for his position. Yes, it might have affected the RBs, but why are you letting people go by? It's racing. We're racing here. We're racing. We're not passing. We're racing. You don't have to let people by. You have every right to race for your position. I think what they did was absolutely genius. Absolutely genius. Great strategy there by Haas to get points for Hülkenberg there. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the aspect of it. I love the drama. I love the crybaby as that attitude out of RB. Get by it. If you're faster, do it. But you weren't faster. You couldn't get by him. That's your own fault. There's nothing to cry about there. So it's not like he was making triple blocks or double blocks even down the straightaways. He just was able to slow the pace down in the short parts of the course and was able to speed up in the fast parts of the course and was able to keep that gap, be able to keep the position. Nothing wrong with that. So congratulations to Haas for pulling off a magical strategy to get a point there in this Grand Prix. Also, I keep mentioning this. I held on to it at the end, but Lance freaking Stroll, man, this guy, man, I am over this. I come onto the podcast last week and I picked my fantasy lineup. I'm loud and proud about my fantasy lineup. I'm super excited for it. I had Lance Stroll on there, and I said, you know what? Last year at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, we saw Lance Stroll put together a pretty good performance. We saw Alonso find a podium. I was like, this weekend, watch out for Aston Martin. I believe they're going to get both drivers in the points, and it's going to be a great fantasy week for Lance Stroll. So what does Lance Stroll proceed to do? Eats the wall, not once, but then twice. Ends up ruining the car. And the best part about it is his team comes over the radio and says, "Hey, Lance, can you bring it back to us?" And he's like, "I can't bring it back to you. I'm stuck in the wall." What a clown. What an absolute clown. I love it. What an idiot. I love it. Lance Stroll is a joke. This guy is going nowhere. He is getting outperformed by a teammate that's past his prime. Lance Stroll, what are we doing? These Aston Martin cars are probably the fourth, fifth best car on the grid. You could argue they're the fourth best. There's an argument to be made there. What are we doing? What are we doing? Bonehead move of the week. Lance Stroll. I can't stand it. Makes me look like an idiot because I go out here and I pump you up last week, and then you wreck, and then I got to come on here on this podcast today, and I have to tell you that you are terrible. Come on, man. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. You're putting me through some damn stress here, Lance Stroll. Come on, man. I can't be pumping you up like that. Come on now. Come on now. Over you. Alrighty. Now, for the results for the Grand Prix, Verstappen wins. Max Verstappen. Unstoppable, man. Unbelievable. He might just win every damn Grand Prix this year. I could almost say it right now, confidently, that he is going to win every race this year. He is just so good. He's so good. The RBs are good. The Red Bulls are good. They hold him back during testing. Here they are, winning races again. Unbelievable. Perez, even with the 5-second penalty, which I feel like, sure, give it to him. But then again, if you're not going to give a penalty for this, why are you giving a penalty for this? It's just consistency. We need consistency. He still finds a way to finish P2. And then Charles Leclerc with a P3 finish here. And also the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, getting him some points, helping out Ferrari there. But now that I mentioned Ferrari, oh my goodness. We saw Carlos Sainz, didn't race this weekend. He had appendicitis. They throw in Oliver Bearman, 18-year-old. Unbelievable. We said this last year in Formula 2. He was really turning up there towards the end of the season, really competing with his teammate Vesti. Wins a race there at Baku in Formula 2. I mean, I didn't have any expectations. I would have been shocked if he'd have got points, to be honest with you. I thought he was going to run P11. It's kind of what I was thinking going into the weekend. That's where he qualified, and I figured he would make some mistakes, he would have the pace, and he'd find a way to just be right outside the points. Nope. Proved me wrong. He finished P7. Unbelievable run. I mean, dang. And then at the end of the race, when Hamilton and Norris pitted towards the end of the race, put on the soft tires because they didn't pit during that initial safety car, I was like, yeah, he's going to be a sit and duck. He's going to fall back to about ninth. Maybe, yeah, about ninth, at the end of this race. Nope. Kept the pace together. Kept them at bay. Ends up finishing P7. And the funny thing about this, though, he has more points in Formula 1 in one start than he has all Formula 2 seasons so far. It's so great. It's so great. I love it, man. I think this guy is going places, man. I know we saw glimpses of this with De Vries when he had his limited start and ended up opening his opportunity to race for AlphaTauri, RB, Red Bull, Cash App, Visa team. But we know how that turned out. So I'm not going to put too much stock in this. I'm excited for him. I think he did great. I think he has potential to go somewhere, but I'm not going to put too much stock into it because I don't want to jinx it. I've jinxed a lot of people already this year. I've talked about multiple here on this podcast already. But what a run by Oliver Bearman this weekend.